Another crash that hit the headlines at Tirreno-Adriatico was, of course, the team time trial on stage 1 when a pedestrian wandered in front of the Bora Hansgrohe team. I mean, they're going at a serious lick here. 60 Ks in the wet, impossible for them to do anything when a spectator, well, I say a spectator, he wasn't watching, obviously, but when someone walks out in front of you like that, there's very little you can do about it, is there?
It happens, and you've got to be aware all the time, and if it's not a person, it's a dog, and if it's not a dog, it's a cat. But the worst thing about it is when you're in a team time trial, you're in the line, and all you're focusing on is the wheel in front of you. They're not aware of what's happening up ahead, so it could have been devastating for the whole team, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But, again, it's that horrible thing. Someone's in the middle of the road, you've got a split decision to go, he's going to stop, so I'll go right, and he's carrying on crossing, so they've gone right and hit him anyway. If they'd just stayed straight, they probably wouldn't have hit him. And you've got a split second to make that decision. It's not something you anticipate, It's like if you get told before the start, someone's going to walk across the road, so just be aware of that. It's all instant. You've got to make a split decision.
Horrible, though, in that situation. Obviously, it's nothing you ever expect, and in that situation, you go into it full effort. You know what time trials like, team time trial especially, you are start to finish on the limit. So there'll have been, even if you might have saw it coming, you could be so knackered that you're like, I can't get my brakes or whatever, It's stupid crashes, those ones.
Obviously, that's, we know, part of the joy of cycling is the ability for spectators to get that close to the action is something you don't see in any other sport. No. How off-putting is it when you've got, you're on a climb, for example, and you've got guys running up alongside you?
Well, it's a safety issue for the riders. I mean, especially if they get out of hand like they did with Chris Froome at the Tour last year, we were speaking about, and they decide they want to hit him or take something out on him. And then with the flares and things, and there's repercussions, they all rode through the flares, Nibali broke his back. These are people's livelihoods on the line here, and as I wouldn't say it's comical because it's never nice for someone who hits them, but in the aftermath it's like, oh, this guy was half asleep crossing the road. Now last week I was speaking on another thing about Jack Grealish getting punched in the Villa match, and that was horrific because it could have been a hell of a lot worse. But the talk after that of we need more safety issues at grounds, at what point are we going to... With cycling, we just don't get that. There's no outrage. We're too busy moaning about other stuff, and that will just go now, and it will happen again, and it will happen again at the Tour. And someone will get out of hand and hit someone. And we're not going to fine, like they talked about in football, we're not going to fine Tirreno. We're not going to, because they got no money anyway, and it's like we need these races. So it's part and parcel of cycling. It's never been any different, and it will carry on. And we kind of just put up with it, really, until something horrific happens, like when Froome, obviously, it was played off because he didn't really get hurt. But at some point, someone is, and it takes one, doesn't it?
Well, it was a gendarme who hauled Froome from his bike on his way.
Yeah, exactly.
On his way down the climb after the race finish, because it was a mountaintop finish. Adam, you ever been in a position where you felt particularly uncomfortable? Anything spring to mind in terms of spectators getting too close?
I'd say the worst is going through Holland. You go through Holland, you're going through these towns, and you're doing like 6k an hour through a town, and you've got people, or even in England, wherever you are, really, it's people who are drunk. People who are drunk stick their arms out for a big selfie, and they don't realise, because they're looking at the phone or through the camera lens, is how close you are to him. And it's that when you're at the side of the road and you've got like a millimetre, 2 centimetres of room, that's when you can wipe out a whole
Belgium's
bunch.
quite bad as well, isn't it?
It's all those countries that are flat and fast. Belgium, Holland, sort of northern France. It's just when there's a lot of people. Yorkshire, that's also a bad one.
Yeah,
it's just
Britain during the Tour and that.
It's a nightmare.
I always found Belgium, like, spectators will line the route and they anticipate where the riders are going to ride, and then the riders come at them and they're on the pavements, they're on the bike path. And the best one is always either someone in a wheelchair or a baby in a pram. They automatically jump out the way and leave the pram or the wheelchair out in... and you're heading towards a pram because they just
like
abandoned ship.
Untouchables.
Yeah. And it's kind of like, it's horrific, at the time, because you don't want to be responsible for hitting someone. So, again, it's part and parcel of cycling. That's why people love it.